Going on, riders? Welcome back to Ride the Six Motorcycle channel. We are doing a rebuild on a Suzuki GSX-S 1000F. It's a mouthful, I know. Anyways, we just kind of tore the bike down. We're at the point now where we can start finally removing the last little broken pieces we have, and maybe start putting some parts on. So before we get started, let me show you some of the pieces that I've managed to pick up. I found so this bike's a 2016. I found a 2018 that a guy from an auto parts recycler was tearing down, basically. So I went and looked at the bike. They already had it all torn down, so I didn't have to take any parts off. And I was actually able to get a headlight assembly. Hope you can see that. It's actually not in bad shape. Well, I almost dropped it there. It's not in bad shape. All the clips here on the top, all that stuff is all in good condition. There are two clips on the side. I'll show you the side first. So there's a clip right here on this side. It's not even a clip. It looks like it slides into the fairing, and then it bolts in, or it slides in. I don't know what this bolts into, but anyways, this side has an intact piece. This side over here does not. The piece is kind of chipped off a little bit. So I've looked up a couple people that have 3D printers. I'm going to see if they can't somehow fix this piece or 3D print the rest of the section so I can at least bolt it back on the bike. So this is a $400 something part, new in Canada, at least, plus taxes. But you know, you're probably going to be up around $500. There is the cable harness here, but the cable harness has been cut, so this isn't of any use to me. The good thing is, I have a part. Well, I have most of the original harness, so this is the same harness that is cut. So this connector was cut off. This was the connector for the dash cluster. So when they recycled the bike, I think they just cut the cable off. But anyways, I have that cable, so I'm okay there. And then the headlight wiring also comes off the same harness. So a little bit of that stuff is broken. So I'm going to have to kind of jerry-rig something up. And also one of the signal light connectors that I have on my harness is broken, but this one is good. So between the two harnesses, the cut one and the one I have, I should be able to kind of put everything back intact. Believe it or not, that little cable harness here, if you look on the parts diagram, they've got it listed for over $3,000. I don't know why. Just this little piece, not the whole harness, just this piece. It's crazy. But anyways, so we're going to get this light sent off. We're going to try to get this tab fixed. So that's number one. That can't go on the bike just yet. Number two, this is a pretty important piece. The one I have from the bike is broken. This is the main front stay bracket. And this is also off of a 2018. The part number is identical. So I know this is going to bolt directly up to the bike. I'm not going to have any issues. So we're good there. That's one piece out of the way. This is usually the first thing that gets damaged on any kind of bike that has any kind of front end hit or collision or anything. So we have that piece. We have the little piece that's going to go down on the front fender. So we're going to get that on. We're going to get these two pieces on. Headlights going out. And I do have a couple fairing pieces as well. So after we get this stuff on, maybe we'll see what the bike's going to look like with a couple fairing pieces. Without further ado, let's get in here. Let's get these things disconnected. And let's get this new little plastic piece on the front. And then we'll mount the new stay bracket. And we'll go from there. Stay tuned. So here we are down underneath the airbox. I have removed this little shielding piece on the front of the bike. we are getting ready to install the new piece. Now this is very frustrating, guys. See that hole? This hole goes around the, I guess, the pin under the triple tree that I used to lift the bike. So when you're doing this on this particular bike, you cannot have this bike on a front stand. It has to be on the ground, as everything runs through these stupid holes. Very, very poor engineering design, if you ask me. I've been able to get in here finally and disconnect all the cables that run from the front right here. They run from the front, they run down through the holes in that piece, and then back up underneath the airbox of the bike. Now, I didn't film this part, guys, because honestly, this is a nightmare. It's very hard, very difficult, because there's not a lot of room to get your hands in here. These connectors are fit together very tight, and you can see you have to push down on these little springs and try to pull the connectors apart at the same time. If you have a square jar ready, I suggest you get it close by, or get a second set of hands, which I didn't do. I just kind of did this on my own. It is very tricky though, guys. It's difficult. This is going to take you a while, trust me. Okay, so I have that all apart. We have our plastic piece. We have our cables free. And there is one other spot here. It gets even trickier. One of these cables, this one, right here, it actually has, see that little plastic clip on it? That plastic clip is mounted, oh, it's going to be really hard to see. There's another bracket underneath here, and that piece gets mounted right there to this bracket. Like, you're going to have to loosen this little bracket off possibly to get this cable free as well. But the cables are free, our connectors are unplugged. I have the bike off the head lift. So we're going to be able to install this plastic piece. Let's do that right now. Alright, time to install our new, I guess, lower fairing piece, or I don't know, some kind of watertight shield or whatever the thing's going to do. Let's pull our cable out. I'm literally going to pull it out and put it back in the same spot so we don't lose it. This goes down through the hole, like I mentioned before. I believe it goes that way. Oh, it may go this way. Hold on a second. No, I think it goes this way. And then this one goes down through this side. See what I mean, guys, about the design? Like, who would design something like this? A little bit frustrating for sure. Okay. We should be able to bolt this up. There's 2 bolts in the front, and these are a 10mm bolt. And there goes one on the floor. Again, not the best design. You can't really see what you're doing unless you're from underneath the bike. Okay, there's the first bolt. Let's get the other bolts kind of queued up in place here. There we go. So I have a little socket here. I'm just going to tighten these up. It's amazing how this little tiny piece requires so much effort and work. Okay, there we go. This is tightened in, so the broken piece has been removed, the new piece is on. we need to route this cable back where it came from, which is under here, and then eventually up back in under the air box. Okay, there's one cable routed, and this one over here. You're not going to be able to see this on camera very easy, but it essentially goes over top of the radiator and then up in through a hole under the air box. I got to double check the routing on this one. I think it should go over the brake line. So I'm going to send it over the brake line here. Where is it? Over the brake line and then up and in underneath. Alright, there we go. And you're probably not going to see it. Let me grab the camera here. Hopefully you can, I don't know how dark this is going to be, guys. It's everything's black here. It's kind of getting close to nighttime here. Again, there's those little plastic washers and clips, and they just kind of clip in to this piece. So right there, this one may be broken, so I may just put a tie wrap on that piece right there. But there we go. Rather than take apart all the handlebars, all the grips, everything, I attacked it from the inside out. You can see we have our connectors back up in here now. So there's our connector coming back up in. We'll have to plug all this stuff in. There's the connectors again. And under the bike you can see it's all routed the same way it was before. This side here I routed it over the brake line and then up inside the bike. You can see there underneath. Okay, let me get those plugged in and we'll go on to the next step. So I had to take it back off again, everybody. After I get it all back in and I had the cables all in place, I noticed that when I was turning the bike, things were fetching up here, kind of where my front brake lines and stuff came out. And this is kind of the reason why. So remember the little bracket I showed you underneath? This was the bracket that came off the bike, and this is a new bracket. Do you see the difference? Yeah. So this one is pretty bent, so rather than try to guess and try to bend it back to its proper shape, I just went ahead and spent 10 bucks or something on a new bracket. So I'm going to get that bracket installed up under here. We're going to continue on. We're going to get these lines back in place and keep moving forward. There you go. You can see I've got the little piece bolted in. Again, it's a very tight spot, guys. There's not a lot of room to even get a camera in there and film. And it kind of does require two hands and some tools. But anyways, we have our new bracket in. It's actually now pointed down lower. Before it was kind of pointed up here higher, but now it's pointed downward. Our plastic piece that comes underneath here should clear this item now. Let's get the plastic piece back on. Alright, there we go, guys. I didn't film it because you've already seen it before. Just two little bolts here in the front, right there where my fingers are, and your cables come down and go underneath. And you can see now that when I turn the bike, you can see that plastic piece. You can see that it's not fetching up with anything. So before, it was fetching up and it was hitting the top of this bracket because the bracket was bent. So we are good. We have free range motion in the front. I've brought the cables back up inside underneath the airbox here. I've plugged them all back in. And we're good to go. Okay. Let's go to the next part. Let's, now that this is done, I think let's get this front stay bracket on. Okay, we are going to put the front stay bracket on. I have the bolts here on the basically the neck of the frame. I just didn't want to lose them, so I stuck them back in here. Let's get these bolts out. So there's going to be a washer on one side and a washer with a nut on the other side. Let's get the top bolt out. Oh, there goes something on the ground. Okay. Oh, I got it. Alright, so this is our broken piece, guys. You can see there's still bits of plastic attached. I'm going to reuse these clips and bits and pieces on the new piece. Alright, this should just slide in here, and it helps if I put it the right way. I do believe it goes like this. Just gonna get these bolts lined up now. Okay, there's one bolt in the hole. We'll just roll this up, poke the other bolt in. It's a bit of a strange spot. There's cables in the way. Okay, bolts are in. We're going to put the washer. Going to have to turn this a little bit. Washer and the nut on the other side. And we're going to do the same on the top bolt, washer, and the nut. Okay. It's a little tricky. You're going to have to turn your forks to get these bolts tightened up. You're going to also have to have two hands here again, guys and gals. We're going to hold this and we're going to tighten the nut on the other side with a 12mm ratchet. So we're just gonna, this should come tight pretty easily. And this one is between the cables, and cables are in the way again over here. Okay. Sorry if my hand's in the way, guys. And I think we're tight. There we go. So I believe this is the right orientation. It makes sense because the cluster is kind of going to sit right there through that hole. And then our front fairings, maybe headlight, are going to bolt on to these corners, I guess, of this stay bracket. Okay, let me get the next piece and let's see how much farther we can progress. I forgot to mention another very important piece. As you can see, this is a dash cluster. The cluster on this bike, I didn't have any dash cluster, so it was either broken or someone took this cluster off the bike knowing what they're worth and resold it or whatever. So I bought a cluster. Again, this is from the same guy, got the other parts. Now this is not from a GSX 1000, this is from a GSX 750. But the cool thing is the back plate, which I've already ordered here, and also the cover are very, very similar. The back plate, I believe, is the exact same part number, or the cover is the same part number. I don't remember exactly which, but I think it was the back plate is the exact same part number as the GSX 1000. So I know that the cluster from the 750 is going to fit on the back piece for the 1000, and hopefully all this stuff goes together. And just for the record, to buy this new, guys, $1,200 Canadian. That's right, 1,200. So I got a good deal on this one because it's broken. I think I paid about $130 to have it, like the part plus shipping. So not too bad. These two cases, I think when I put these two cases together, these two cases come, like, hard to believe, but these two little plastic cases come out to about, I'd say, just under $200. So instead of a $1,200 console, I'm hoping to have a console for in around the $300 range. I'm going to go switch these things in now, and hopefully we'll have a cluster that we can put on the bike. So here's the back of the cluster. You can see it's from a 2019 GSX 750S. So we're going to take these screws off. You can see there's a bunch of little screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at least I can count. We're going to grab this clip off here. We're going to reuse that. This piece over here is broken, so I'd probably short one of these clips. But let me get that apart, and I'll show you what's inside. So there we go. There's actually 8 screws. There was one I didn't see. Let's take the cover off. Alright, so there's our circuit board. I do know that this screen works because the guy had a video of the bike actually powered up, and I could see the screen is working. So now I guess we need to take out the screws holding the screen in. It looks like everything's disassembled from the back. Okay, so 1, 2 for sure. Let me see if I can get that apart next. Turns out you don't need to take those little screws out, guys. Just grab the little board by the connector, take it out of the housing. So there we go, there's our screen. You can see it's not cracked, it's not damaged. I'm just hoping it's fully functional. And these two little white pieces did come out. I don't know where exactly they go, but I'm going to have to figure that out when I put them in. I believe they are for the backs of this button, and most likely this button here. I believe they sit there and they hit. Yeah, that's probably where they sit. They probably go down there and hit the little buttons on the dash cluster. Okay, let me get this together. Here's our new, I guess, front casing for the cluster. We're going to flip this over. You can see the buttons. It already has the buttons on it. I do not need to salvage the buttons from the other case, but I do suspect we need to salvage these two little white pieces. And like I say, they probably go in the place of those buttons. Alright, let me be right back. I'm going to try to put this back together. I probably cannot do this with one hand. So far so good. I was able to drop the LCD into the front casing, and I did put the two little white pieces in, and I believe I'm exactly right. They are the things that make you click the buttons on the circuit board. So we got that piece dropped in. I'm going to screw this together now, put the cover back together, and then maybe we'll go try to plug this into the bike and see if it actually works. I'm not sure if I have my harness because I may have sent it with the headlight, but this is step one. Get this piece back together. Success. I have put this back together. Check that out, guys. You wouldn't even know that this had already come off a busted motorcycle. But yeah, these the two case pieces, these two little plastic pieces were $200 or just under $200. Plus the, actually maybe a little bit less. I'll put the exact numbers up on the screen. I'll double check it for you guys. But I think when I did the calculations, the screen and the two plastic pieces was about $300 all in instead of $1,200. That's a $900 savings. That is bonus. So yeah, I tightened all the bolts down. You don't want to over tighten them, guys. They're just plastic. And yeah, so I'm going to be missing one of these clips right now, so I'll get that on order. All these little tiny pieces add up and they take time. So you need to plan that when you are planning on doing some of these rebuilds. You need to plan for stuff like this, stuff that you can't see that's damaged or missing. And hopefully you can see I'm clicking the button, you can hear it. and the other button over here. So we actually should have a functional cluster. The back was from a 2018, or no, the back was from a 750. Same part number on the 2016 1000. And I ordered the cover from the 750 because I wasn't sure if the cover from the 1000 was going to fit. But the pieces are exactly the same to me. They may have just changed the part number for some silly reason, or they changed one screw in the design, who knows. Maybe they just rolled the part numbers. Okay, so that's a huge piece, guys. The bike will run without the cluster, but $1,200 to buy a new one, about $300 or so to buy the broken pieces and a couple new plastic pieces and put it back together. Worst case, this dash doesn't work, I'll end up selling this. Okay, let's go to the bike. Let's see what else we got. So you can see I've transposed the broken bits from the broken stay just over to here. Basically just as a placeholder. Obviously I'm not going to keep these broken plastics here, but I was able to keep 1, 2, 3 of the mounting hardware points, and so I only have to buy probably 1 bolt for here. All these bolts, guys, do add up in price, so anything you can save when you're doing these types of rebuilds, try to reuse the bolts and try to reuse what you have. So I do have the cluster. This is the cluster that I have repaired that you're going to see in the video. Now, it doesn't look like it attaches directly to this, so there is some kind of other piece or something that sits here on top of this stay bracket. So I need to find out what that is. So I double checked the parts list and stuff, guys. There is another assembly that rides on top of this stay bracket between this and the cluster. So I have this part on order. And also, we actually had some company over the other day, and I had all these fairings laying up in one of my spare bedrooms. So I started piecing some of the fairings on the bike just to see how things fit together. This is the original fairing that I got with the bike. You can see this side is kind of wrecked. This fairing, even though it's somewhat intact, it has broken pieces. And this is only half the fairing. There's another fairing piece that attaches to this one as well. So I have half a fairing on the right hand side. Let me go over to the other side here. You can see I've attached a nose cowl from a 2018 model. Now I really like the blue. I'm leaning toward the blue because I only have one red panel. And then on this side, you can see I've put the left panel on. This is a full panel assembly, also off of 2018. This is not damaged. It's scuffed up a little bit. It's got a couple imperfections, like this is just like adhesive or something, and I got to clean this off. But overall, I mean, there's a couple little imperfections, like right here you can see. But the plan, I think, guys, is to take this bike to blue from the red. So I've started piecing things together. Where these pieces line up, it's actually very tight fit. So nothing's bent on the bike that way. It's just a matter of kind of piecing things back together. Like I've never owned one of these bikes, so I'm just kind of learning as I go. I need all the inner trim pieces around the cluster. I need all these little things. So I have got another order in with my local Suzuki dealer. So I've got a lot of plastic pieces and some little clips and screws. Stupid things like these little rubbers. Luckily I have those, but all these little pieces, guys, they do add up. I am going to have the headlight assembly back here probably this week. And we're going to see how this headlight assembly fits in here. But we're looking good on the front. Things are coming together. It's just a matter now of getting the plastics, getting it all assembled, and we'll have another functional bike here in the garage. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're out there riding, ride safe.